गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Which verse? 63 or 64?
63, Swamiji.
63. We did this, I think. Okay, anyway.
We did 62, Swamiji.
Okay. So, we are in Amrit Anubhav, chapter 2, Shri Guru Stavana, OV number 63. And we are talking about the Guru Shishya, and that from the Shishya's point of view there is Guru, but from Guru's point of view there is only him, not the Guru, the ultimate, the infinite one, because his vision is that of oneness, whereas the vision of the Shishya or the seeker or the disciple is that of duality. He wants to achieve something. Guru doesn't want to achieve anything. He is already established in that one, without a second principle. And yet he continues to play the game without getting affected by the phenomena. And here he says, Na karpura ani parimala kapuraci kevala godi ani gula gulaci jevi. The camphor and its fragrance are nothing but camphor itself. The jaggery and the sweetness are indeed nothing but jaggery. In case of camphor and its fragrance, it cannot be said that the fragrance is important and the camphor is not. Although the camphor and its fragrance cannot be differentiated as two, yet the camphor is the reality and the fragrance is its glory. So, the ornament cannot be separated from the gold. So, gold is the reality and the ornament is its glory. Wave cannot be separated from the water. Water is the reality and the waves are the glory of that water. Joyous expression. Similarly, for the Guru, he is established in the self, but the Shishya is expressing as the Guru and the Shishya. That is his glory. Similarly, in the case of jaggery and its sweetness, jaggery is the substratum manifesting as sweetness. Similarly, woman is the substratum. If you take woman to be the jaggery, then what is the sweetness? Being the husband, being the mother, being the daughter. That is the sweetness. That is its manifestation. That is her glory. But human beings, they get caught up in the roles rather than enjoying the roles. Enjoying the role, when will you enjoy? When you don't hold on to them. So Guru doesn't hold on to being a Guru, because in his mind is very clear. If I hold on to this point at this moment as a teacher, as a speaker, that I have to make you understand, then mine will be the most miserable existence. If my job, if my disposition is, yeah, it's happening, this is what is required at this moment, it is happening, and let it go on. then no tension, then there's nothing to achieve, there's nobody to change. See, even my mind, I don't have to change it. If you look at it from the highest standpoint, from where they're saying, mind is the glory of the self. Self is without any conditionings. Mind is nothing but consciousness with conditionings. Gold is without conditionings. Ornament is gold with conditionings, isn't it? Exactly the same way. So what is this mind? Is it a problem? Is it an issue? Is it something to be fought with? My mind is becoming me too much trouble, because we have not interacted with our mind in the proper way. Instead of taking it as a glory, we have taken it as an obstacle. Similar to these four examples, Taisa Guru Shishya Mise, Hachi Ek Ullase, Zari Kahi Dise, Doni Pane. In the same way, the Sadguru alone manifests as both Guru as well as the Shishya and appears in duality. See? So, appearance, remember, appearance is the glory. So, appearance of wave or ocean is the glory of the water. Similarly, the glory of the self or the Guru Tattva is to express as the Guru and the Shishya. Similarly, Paramashiva's glory is to express as Shiva and Parvati. The glory of the self, the self, the Atma is, or the Guru Tattva is to express as the Aham and the Idam, the I thought and the that thought. See? Now, we have gone somewhere wrong and taken this I to be only this, and then the misery begins. If take the I to be the infinite one, then it's then you will enjoy. In the same way, Guru Maharaj alone is manifesting as his own glory under the guise of Guru and the disciple. The infinite waters alone are expressing as the Guru, the ocean, the disciple, the wave. Similarly here, Ullasa is an expression of joy and not of compulsion. Ullasa. People give name also to their children as Ullasa. I know one. Ullasa means joy, expression of joy. So, is that joy a temporary one? Is that joy a result of our desires? Is it a joy which has come about as a result of gaining something? As a result of doing? As a result, when we say karta bhokta, ego is nothing but karta and bhokta, doer and enjoyer. So is the joy coming by doing something? Then that is compulsion. When it is naturally expressing, then it is ullasa. We keep repeating this example. The waves on the river are born out of compulsion of the river wanting to reach the ocean. Whereas the waves on the ocean are born not as a result of any compulsion. It is out of its inherent joy. Ocean doesn't have to reach anywhere. See? So are the thoughts appearing in our mind? Now are the thought waves appearing in our mind out of compulsion, or are they appearing out of joy? Because the source of all thoughts is nothing but consciousness. That choice is ours, no? So then what do we need to do? Every moment be bindas. Nothing to gain, nowhere, nothing to do, nothing to achieve. And yet, let life express. It will continue to express. The sun doesn't do anything, yet day and night keep coming and going. Similarly, activity will continue. The ocean doesn't do anything, yet the waves keep coming and going out of the joy of the ocean. So, and where do we experience or compulsion is when we are seeking joy. When we are seeking joy, it is a compulsion. Then there is some doing meditation, achieving mergence in the infinite. Because we have already accepted that we are the limited one, that we are the ignorant one. We have accepted that we are not of the nature of infinite. That's why we are seeking. And if we say that no, we have accepted then we are keeping the infinite as an object to be realized. It is not the object, it is the subject itself. So these slight corrections in our approach, when we listen and read the words of the great masters and their realization, they can make. All we have to do is available, nothing to understand here. Just come back to the original by being the original, because otherwise coming back will again presuppose a journey. Ullasa is an expression of joy and not of compulsion. The saints and sages taught not because they were hired, but out of the joy of that pure knowledge. See? Saints and sages taught out of the joy of pure knowledge and not because of any compulsion. Compulsion will be, I want to change the world. Compulsion will be, my children must go to, the Bal Vikas classes and teenage classes. They need to get samskar. This is compulsion. You never went, forcing your children to go there. Think. But you turned out to be okay, no? Life has naturally brought you to this point where you are listening to these thoughts without going through any classes when you were young. Nowadays the children, not only they have the burden of their school, now they have got burden of all other extracurricular activities also, because they are forced on them rather than them enjoying it by being there. So this, why are we able to go text after text and talk about the same ideas and thoughts again and again and again? Because it comes as a result of the joy within. It is not coming because if the disposition was that I have to teach because I have to change the world, then I'll get exhausted after some time. I'll get tired. I'll have withdrawal symptom. That बहुत हो गया यार, how long I will keep doing this? See, life is ullasa, and the spiritual seeker should neither yield to frustration nor impose his views on anyone, but should maintain prasannata under all circumstances. Then you can understand, it will click that the whole world of duality is nothing but Leela. And that's why you never see Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna, Narayana, all of them are always smiling. You don't see them miserable. Including the goddesses. They are smiling. They are never cringing. They are never in depression. They are never sad. So if we are getting frustrated, if we are getting agitated, if we are getting angry, understand our interaction with the world requires to be changed. We are imposing ourselves. We are expecting something. If every moment of our existence, every word coming out, everything that you see, hear, touch, feel, taste, everything is taken as expression of joy, then it's what a wonderful way. Then you won't want to die. यार यहीं पे heaven आ गया. We are not even talking about that. Then there is no death only. Because this disposition cannot be at the level where something is coming and going. This disposition is that infinite substratum. From there only this infinite bliss, this infinite joy, in spite of the changes, in spite of the coming and going, in spite of the senses, in spite of the thoughts, in spite of the emotions. So important thing is Brahma Bhuta. Bhagavad Gita says Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. The one who has come to accept that the self is the infinite Brahman, he is ever prasanna, ever happy disposition, in happy disposition, or expressing the happiness. Happiness does not mean ha ha hoo hoo. Happiness means absence of agitation, irritation, anger, etc. Or you want to go one step further, even if those express at the mental level, the self is not affected by what is expressing, because sometimes these can be expressing, because there are many masters who get angry also. Akkalkot Swami, that Narayan Swami whom we met when we went to the top of Arunachala. So we see masters also getting angry, but they are not touched by their anger. They are not touched by their hunger. They are not touched by their senses. Why? Because they have not become the seer. They have not become the owner of all the stimuli. Individual is, he owns all the stimuli. He owns all the thoughts. Who is a master? Who sees it as their own. His attention is not on ownership. He is not becoming the erring personality. Therefore he is happy. While there is much anxiety in the Shishya, because he wants to reach somewhere, he wants to achieve something, he wants to be established in the truth, he is desiring that, and wherever there is desire, there is an expectation, there will be anxiety. While there is much anxiety in the Shishya, there is none in the Guru. Secondly, for Shishya it is serious sadhana, but for the Guru it is a drama. When we are playing with children, are we very serious? No, but for the children, even a small game of carom can be very, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win. Or you play with those cards with them and they want to win. But for you, it's just, चलो यार जब तक खाना रेडी नहीं होता, भिक्षा रेडी होती है, तब तक खेल लो इनके साथ. And you just want to pass your time. So no, nothing to be achieved, nothing to be lost. Then what was it? Time pass. You're just whiling away the time joyfully. But for that kid, it's a serious game. So for the Shishya, it is a sadhana, and for the Guru, it is a game. Thirdly, the Guru plays his role without getting excited. The disciple takes the duality as real and struggles. So where the teaching can happen? Right now. And the Guru teaches without getting excited. See, he is maintaining the equanimity. That does not mean that he cannot smile, that he cannot be happy. If it is meant to express, it will express. But he is not carried away by the excitement of the thoughts that are being presented. See? More than excitement, it is wonderment of what is going on. It's wonderment. But for the student, it is a serious business. Why it is serious? Because the disciple takes the duality as real. Guru, 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 Guru. Takes the person as the Guru. What is the Guru? In essence, it is the teaching which is the Guru. It is the self which is the Guru. It is the Brahman which is the Guru. It is the Ishvara which is the Guru. And that person alone, that infinite reality which is expressing through you, is also expressing through the teacher. But we become form oriented rather than we leave all decisions to the Guru Maharaj. That's a different path. That's a path of surrender. But we are if we are seekers in the path of Vedanta, in this path of what Jnaneshwar Maharaj, he has complete faith and surrender to the Guru. But that does not curb his potential. He does not become a weakling. Jnaneshwar Maharaj has not become a weakling. Jnaneshwar Maharaj, under the guidance of his Guru Nivrittinath, he has not remained a bonsai. He has come to the same stature as his Guru, as we are seeing. That's why he is able to give this type of experience of his realization. He's writing, no? So it doesn't show that even though he is in the presence, he is serving his Guru, he is speaking to him, he is in relationship with his Guru because he is his elder brother, yet he is his teacher. He has got younger siblings. Yet there is no feeling of inferiority. You understand? And neither there is a feeling of superiority with respect to his younger siblings. So Guru, who is Guru? Who doesn't feel superior to his disciple? Nor does he, because he must have also been a student sometime, he doesn't feel inferior to his Guru. See the disposition. So there is nothing, we don't have to run away from a physical teacher in order to realize. Because realization is not by running away or by coming close. Realization is your nature. It is part, you are it. Where will you run? See how beautiful it is. So Jnaneshwar Maharaj, Swamiji is saying here that as long as the disciple takes the duality to be real, till then he will be miserable, till then he will struggle, till then he will get disturbed, agitated, restless on account of duality. He has to understand duality is a phenomena and leave it at that. We can't change the phenomena. We can't change the phenomena. If I got a morning shift, I get up in the morning. Phenomena is day and night. But if I got a night shift, then I sleep during the day. I change my pattern. I don't change the day and night to suit my working pattern. Do we? And this is exactly the mistake we are doing. We are trying to change the phenomena. We are trying to change the body. We are trying to change the mind. We are trying to change the thoughts. All we need to change is what we have accepted ourselves as. Have I accepted myself to be the husband, daughter, wife, etc.? Or have I accepted myself to be the woman or the man? Have I accepted myself to be the individual? Or have I accepted myself to be the reflected consciousness? Or have I accepted myself to be the infinite consciousness? Reflected consciousness, Jiva. Or have I accepted at this very moment? All these possibilities are there. Which one are we, from which angle are we living our life? Because life is phenomena. You are not a phenomena. You are the substratum. The self is the substratum. When you think of the phenomena, then coming and going, day and night, inside, outside, up, down, all duality begins. But if our disposition is, I am the substratum, I am, Aham Brahmasmi, and this Brahman that I am, in essence, that alone is permeating this entire phenomena, because phenomena cannot exist by itself. It needs a substratum, a foundation. And that common denominator in and through the phenomena is the self that I am. Is that our disposition? Or our disposition is only to establish duality? This is what needs to be corrected. And this cannot be corrected in the future, it cannot be corrected in the past. This has to happen every moment of our existence. Every moment. Till it becomes a permanent disposition. Then it is like the wave wanting to maintain its identity intact and also know the ocean. See? It's like the wave or the individual wanting to keep the individuality intact and wanting to know the infinite. Is that possible? Can the wife or the husband remain a husband or wife and yet come to know the woman or the man? To be the woman, the wife has to vanish. It cannot be otherwise, because at any given moment only one can express. See, if you are a waker now and you want to go to sleep, can you maintain the waking and go to sleep? Can you maintain the waking and go to sleep? Waker has to vanish. isn't it? In order for the sleeper to come. Same way, here Swamiji is saying that it is like wave wanting to maintain its identity, and its identity is what? Its form. Its obsession with the form is its identity. Its birth and death is its identity. The parameters that it has set for itself. And what are the parameters for the individual? These are my parents, these are my children, this is my husband or wife, I am living in Australia, I came here on this particular date and now it has been so many decades and I got this business, I got this profession, on and so much, I got this investment, I got good kids, I got... keeps all that is, these are the parameters by which the individual is propping himself up. The ego is propping itself up. And maintaining its identity. And that's why the breakup in personality comes. When these things that have been keeping the ego propped up, that is the food for the ego, all these identifications. As nature starts taking them away one by one, the ego has got nothing to hold on to. One lady is there in Melbourne only somewhere. She is now in her 80s, late 80s. She is a singing teacher. Her son, if she is in her late 80s, her son is also in his 60s. She lives in one room, but the son and his wife, she's maybe in the granny flat, and they are busy with their life, their children, their tensions. But this lady has gone into depression. Why? Nobody to talk to. Till the virus was not there, students were going to her every day, so she used to look forward to teach, because that was her interaction with humanity and kept her sane. But now, coronavirus, she is isolated and she goes into panic, she goes into anxiety. The mind is continuously whirring around. Why? Because nobody to interact with. Think. So for her to come back to normal, she needs to teach. She needs to teach. When Jahangir or one of the king, he was captured by Aurangzeb when he put his father into jail. I don't know who was the father of Aurangzeb. When he put him into the jail and took the throne, that king, his father, who was used to ruling, who was used to giving orders, who was used to having people at his beck and call, he says, I accept going to jail, but open a madrasa for me. Give me 10 students. Because he wanted to teach, he wanted to be in control, he wanted to guide. This is how the ego is. It always wants to latch on to something to maintain its existence. But actually speaking, there is nothing called ego, which the Guru has realized. But the Shishya is still in that loop of duality, and thus unable to take the position of the infinity as the Guru has. It is like a wave wanting to maintain its identity intact and also know the ocean whereas the Guru is established in the non-dual existence. Because we are so used, we have trained ourselves that I am hungry, I will go and eat, then my hunger will be satisfied. I got a desire, when that desire is fulfilled, then I feel the joy. And this is how we are interacting with everything. When I go to sleep, then I will be refreshed. And same set of rules we apply when it comes to the infinite consciousness. When I come to know the infinite consciousness, then I will be realized. With regards to the world, when you are having your desires, you are still there. The individuality is still there. The person is still there. But with regards to this infinite consciousness, is it an object to be accomplished? Is it an object to be gained? Like food? And to be made one with you? No. Then what is it? You are already that. Can the husband come to know the man? No, he is already the man. See, it is not possible to maintain the husbandhood and yet be the man. Not possible. You can't even forget about just being the man. Remain a husband and be a father both at the same time. Not possible. Even in virtual reality, two roles cannot appear at the same time, because only one thing at a time. But because of our, as it says here, the Shishya has taken duality to be real, and in that duality he wants to achieve the infinite consciousness. He is not recognizing that unlike the physical world, he is only looking at the objects. If I drink, my quenches thirst. If I eat food, my hunger is satiated. When I realize, when I come to know the infinite consciousness, then I will be realized. It doesn't happen that way. And the example is the wave cannot come to know the infinite waters. The husband cannot come to know the man. The wife cannot come to know the woman. The wife has to vanish out of existence in order for woman to appear, reveal. That wifehood was appearing, the phenomena was there only because the substratum, the woman, was there. Similarly, this jivahood, this seeker, this duality, phenomena of duality is expressing only because the substratum is there. Is the substratum outside? Is the substratum beyond the clouds? No. Who knows the substratum? Who knows the duality? Right now, who knows the duality between I and that? Who knows the duality inside and outside? I only know. Oh, then you are the substratum. Because you are giving too much value and importance to the duality, you are caught up, you are under its clutches. Don't give too much value to the duality. Give more value to the substratum by being the substratum. How do I give more value to the substratum when I can't see it? Next question that this might come in your mind. How can I give substratum which I already am, how can I give it more importance and attention? Your eyes are giving value to whatever they are seeing. But can you But can the eyes see themselves? No. But you know that it is there, isn't it? Can you see the mind? No. But you know there is a mind where the thoughts are coming, isn't it? So you can't see, but you know. So why this obsession that I need to see the reality? I need to know the reality. You are the reality, accept it. That reality, that consciousness is the basis of everything. This the Guru has come to know. Not as everything. Once you come to know to the substratum, then substratum is all that there is, in spite of the phenomena. Because that substratum is in and through the phenomena. The water is in and through all the waves. The gold is in and through all the ornaments. Similarly, this substratum, this pure consciousness, this Guru Tattva is in and through the Prakriti, the microcosmic or the macrocosmic. This pure, so the Parama Shiva is in and through the Shiva and Shakti. Same way, this self, this pure consciousness is in and through the convictions, thoughts, emotions, breath, speech, senses, gross body, and the entire world. On that substratum of pure consciousness, this entire world of variety is the phenomena. Just like on the reality of the water, the entire world of ocean, the Ishvara, the world of waves, the Jivas, is a phenomena. See, he is like the lotus leaf on the water, never allowing himself to be overwhelmed or touched by the waters of duality. So what is the disposition of the Guru Maharaj? This is what we see in the various masters. They are like Nalini Dalagata Taralam Atishayata Chapa, or something like that it goes. It is like the lotus, a lotus leaf, living in this world, living in the murky waters, but not touched by the dirty waters. Same way we are. This master, he was born in this world, he grew up in this world, he realized, and yet the body, the phenomena continues in this world till it is supposed to continue, but untouched by the world anymore, not persecuted by the world anymore, not overwhelmed by the world anymore. And in this way, the Sadguru alone manifests as both Guru as well as Shishya, and appears in duality. He is the substratum of the duality. This we have to realize. How long are we going to keep taking everything as separate to ourselves? This is the growth. This is the transcendence that is required. Nobody can help us. Nobody can help us. Because all help will be objective in nature. So right now, if this satsang is a help, it is objective in nature. But what it is indicating is not objective. That is the infinite one. That is the substratum. This difference between the Guru and Shishya is further explained. He says, Arisa ani mukhi, mi dise he ukhi, he apuliye volakhi, zane mukha. When the face is reflected in the mirror, the reflection is never taken to be another face, but one knows it is one's own face. So, if this whole phenomena of the world is a reflection, then whose reflection? My reflection. It cannot be someone else's reflection because I am experiencing this world. The reflection is not taken to be someone other. Even though we are standing in front of the mirror and there is a reflection of our face, we know we are not the face. And we also know that the reflection is of our face, the original, isn't it? And therefore, when you comb or you trim your mustache, you don't do it for the reflection, you do it for yourself, the original one. Exactly the same way. Why you want to fix the mind, which is the reflection? Why you want to fix the thoughts? This is exactly what it is. It's like you are trying to sort out the waves in order to come to the water. Stupidity. You can keep trying. You'll get exhausted. And this is exactly what we do. Whole day we try to sort out the world. We get exhausted, we go to sleep. Rejuvenate and again try to work out the world. Security, desires, accumulation, seeking. That's why we get exhausted. So no, just like when we stand in front of the mirror, we know we are the original and this is the reflection. It is there only to help me to fix my face in our case. But in Paramashiva's case, he is alone reflecting in himself as Shiva and Parvati, Shiva and Shakti. He is not looking at Shiva Shakti to fix himself. So what is his approach to Shiva Shakti? It is his glory. What is Shiva's approach to Shakti? That she is my glory. What is Shakti's approach to, if we take it as a personality, that what is Shakti's expression towards the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas and the Panchadha Prakriti? It is her glory. What is the glory of the eyes? To express as vision. What is the glory of the mind? To express as thoughts or no thoughts. What is the glory of the self then? To express as the phenomena or not to express as the phenomena. Where is the place for individuality there in between? Where is the place for identification with the phenomena? Do we get identified with our reflection? Yes, there are many stupid ones who sit in front of the mirror for hours. They are so self-obsessed as the body, not as the spirit. You can also sit in front of the mirror, no problem. Take this particular verse and sit. You will fall back into yourself. The Guru is the face, Bimba, and the reflection, pratibimba, is the disciple. So in the phenomena, Guru is the face and Shishya is the reflection. Guru knows he is the original, Shishya doesn't know, he is the phenomena. A person looking at the reflection knows that he is looking at his own face and not at something other than him. In the duality, the non-dual bimba alone is perceived by the Guru. So, when we take the position, see here this example has a limitation. What is the limitation? That the mirror is separate to me. If the mirror goes away, there is no reflection. But how can I apply to that example of mirror to this world? There is nothing to remove from here. There is nothing to remove from here. World still continues. So now here little bit common sense is required, that where is the whole world? In the mind. How is it in the mind? As the thoughts. See, those thoughts are the reflection of are the thoughts made up of something other than the consciousness? No. Thoughts are inert, but the consciousness which is expressing through each thought as Chidabhas, as reflected consciousness, as I. See? Now, are you taking yourself as I with respect to that thought? Or are you taking the I to be the illuminator of the thought? Because without the illumination, thought will not reveal itself. Phenomena cannot reveal itself. What is your position? A person looking at the reflection knows that he is looking at his own face. So are we looking at the thought and saying it is my own expression? Yes, at times we do say, but we lose the plot. It's not in its entirety. These are my thoughts. These are my convictions. These are, but only in this body, in this mind. Whereas Satya Sai Baba, Shirdi Sai Baba, if the dog eats food, he feels his hunger is satiated. A mother sees the child eating and resting, she feels content. Acha chalo bhai. I don't know if that is out of exhaustion or genuine. But that is how it is. That if the child is eating, if the child has done the poo-poo at the right time, the parents are very happy. We are talking about a baby. That everything is fine. So how much joy. Now that same kid, baby, now has grown up. The interaction is no longer the same. So are we taking all the expressions in the phenomena as expressions of the self? Is that our disposition? Or are we taking all the expressions in the phenomena, this whole world is phenomena, and we have got identified with the phenomena? This unclutching is required. In fact, there is no unclutching. You have to just come, instead of being identified with the phenomena, you be yourself, that's all. You don't feel the loss or gain of the reflection in the mirror. If the reflection has come, oh nice, I have become two now. You don't get depressed if the reflection has gone away. Then how come We get excited when good thoughts come. We get depressed when sad thoughts come. How come we feel fantastic when the desires are fulfilled? Everything is the thought only, no? Because we have taken them to be separate. They are not included in the definition of I. From the point of view of the reflection, the Shishya, it will always suffer from its dependence on the Bimba and will constantly struggle to get out of that bondage. Huh? The Shishya is always trying to struggle to get out of the bondage of identity with the phenomena. That's why he is a seeker. That's why he is a student. And he is always dependent on the Guru Maharaj. See? Always dependent. Waiting for handouts, waiting for a look, waiting for grace. This truth is totally experienced by the teacher and he never gets carried away by the sense of duality. As long as, so this disposition in the Shishya is there, as long as he considers the Guru Maharaj to be separate to him. Until then he will be dependent. Till then he will go to the temples. Till then he will go to wherever. He feels that his desire to be free of bondage and misery will come about. He will go there. He'll keep changing gods, he'll keep changing gurus, he'll keep changing scriptures, he'll keep changing his sadhana. Why? He has not got it. But is the self something to be got? This is what we are saying again and again. But he has to go through that process till he comes to realize, where am I running, man? All the scriptures, all the gurus are saying the same thing. You are that which you are seeking. You are that which you are seeking. Then where will I run? How many gods will I change? How many gurus I will change? How many sadhanas will I change? How many japa, whatever practices I will change? I am only cluttering my mind with all these. Then what do I have to do? I have to just accept that I am that. Story over. It's not so easy, then suffer. Then suffer. If you don't accept it, then suffer. It's all, you have to just be. The objects of the world exist in the sense organs. The sense organs have their existence in the mind, and the mind has its existence in the consciousness. I already just explained that whole process to you before. Thus, everything is in consciousness only, in different forms. Thoughts cannot appear outside of consciousness. And thoughts alone. Remember, what is this world? Asti Bhati Priya Nama Roop. Asti Bhati Priya is existence, consciousness and bliss. That is the aspect of the reality. And what is the world? Nama Roop, name and form. This is how that one infinite reality is expressing. And where is the name? Inside. Inside the mouth, it is called speech. Inside the mind, the name is called a thought. Name cannot be without form, form cannot be without name. Every form is dependent on the name, because name is subtler than the form. Form is the fire element, name is the space element. Word is the space element. in the mouth. But the thought, it's not space element, it is consciousness itself. Just like wave is nothing but water itself. The thought wave is nothing but consciousness itself. Now, the form is dependent on the name. But what do? We take the form and we sit with the form in our mind. But is the Lord, the Narayana, the Shiva, is he the form? Yes, also, no doubt. But in my mind, that is a limited form, which I can touch, which I can, it's okay. But what I want is the infinity. Then have the courage to chant the mantra of Om Namah Shivaya and allow the Lord Shiva to reveal himself as he is, not as you have imagined. Take Om Namo Narayanaya and allow the Narayana to reveal himself as he is in his infinitude and not as you have imagined. See? The objects of the world, we have seen that. Thus, everything is in consciousness only and in different forms. Consciousness alone is appearing as the name and form. Mind alone. In the mind are the names and in the mind are the forms. The mind gone out is the forms. Mind remaining inside is the name. See? You can distinctly experience this as you start chanting the name of the Lord. Initially it is, you read somewhere, Om Namo Shivaya. Then you start chanting, you listen to yourself. Then the chanting becomes softer. Then it becomes subtler. Then the chanting is going on the mind only. Then it goes back to its source. When the Guru looks at the world, he is established in consciousness. When the Shishya looks at the world, he is at the level of the senses, the mind and the world of objects. We have already talked about it. So where are we making the mistake as a seeker? We are in the intellect at this moment if we are trying to understand. And if you are saying, oh, how wonderful, so beautiful, oh, by God's grace, I heard this, it was just fantastic, then we are in the mind, emotionally affected. See? Or we are at the sensory level or at the worldly level. Like we go to Fiji. In Fiji, when I went there, in the temple where I gave talks, they keep Bhagavad Gita in the temple and they pray to the Bhagavad Gita. They don't read Bhagavad Gita. You may be laughing, smiling, but we are doing exactly the same thing. We have kept God in a statue in the temple and we are praying to the God rather than realizing it. Just as Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be read, similarly, the God is supposed to be realized, not outside, as your very own being. So, Guru Maharaj is coming from the point of consciousness, whereas the disciple, the Shishya, he is coming from the point of individuality or the mind or the senses or the world, depending upon where he is. But the Guru Maharaj never comes down from that point of consciousness. In other words, the Guru looks at the world from the standpoint of consciousness, whereas the Shishya looks at the world from the standpoint of senses, the mind, and objectivity or objectiveness. So this is where we are making, we as a seeker, if we are considering ourselves to be seeker, this is the error that we are making. See, even the word seeker has a ending called er, so it is an error. And that error is the standpoint of the mind or the senses, or acceptance of objectivity as real, as separate to myself. Then only it will become real. Whereas the Guru Maharaj is also having a mind, he is also expressing through the senses, he also is in the world, but his attention is neither on the world, neither on the senses, neither on the mind. His attention is on the consciousness. His attention is on the consciousness. Train yourself. Training is not of consciousness. Training is about not giving value and attention to the world or the senses or the mind. Because consciousness you anyway already are. But if you think of consciousness through the mind, then only meditation will happen. Realization will not happen. Only meditation will happen. Because you are thinking of consciousness. And as a result, what is happening? The world is going out of your mind. Then you will go into samadhi and you will come out of samadhi. But realization will not happen. So that is also okay, at least to do something. Correct the error next life. So when I'm sitting on my seat of meditation, then I'm in meditation. When I'm out there in the world, I'm not in meditation. You have created duality. How can realization be possible? Then what is realization? This is realization. In spite of the world, in spite of the senses, in spite of the mind, taking the position of consciousness and seeing its play in and through the mind, through the senses, through the world. And not getting overwhelmed by it. Not getting overwhelmed by it. Not getting excited by it. Because if you get any reaction happens and you give value to that reaction, you immediately forget the consciousness, you are back to individuality. The moment you give value to the husband, immediately the wife comes out. So, how to remain a woman all the time? Not think about husband. How do you not think about husband? Oh, husband is because I am there. Come back to original. Don't give him value. Give yourself value. So, where are we? In other words, the Guru looks at the world from the standpoint of consciousness, whereas the Shishya looks at the world from the standpoint of senses, mind, and objectiveness. In this way, the disciple is splintered into many places or parts, but the teacher is established in pure consciousness, which is the substratum of the totality. The whole thing comes back to what I have been saying. If our attention is on the mind, mind is nothing but expression of many thoughts or no thoughts. We are divided into so many. If your attention is on the family, then the woman is divided. With someone she is a wife, with someone she is a mother, with someone she is a daughter, with someone she is a daughter-in-law, with someone she is a grandmother. She is divided herself. That is what is splintered here. And giving value to all these then troubles her. Then how not to be troubled, how not to be on an emotional coaster? Because mother can go on an emotional ride, wife can be on an emotional ride, woman is not. So same way, take the position of consciousness that I am. Then nothing will affect. Then everything is expression of the consciousness alone. Everything is expression of the self alone. Then whom will you fight? Whom will you run away from? Whom will you like or dislike? Whom will you hate and love? Whom will you show compassion or no compassion? On whom will you practice violence or non-violence? The whole drama goes away, and yet the drama continues. Then you are merely the eternal witness watching your own game. How has the same truth become the Guru and the Shishya, and how in spite of this has never become, is explained by another beautiful example in the next two OVs. So what is how the truth is expressing as Guru and Shishya but has never become Guru and Shishya. This is what he is saying. Now apply to yourself. How has woman expressed as mother, daughter, sister but never become? We are talking expressed as but never become. If you become, all the challenges and troubles and come along with that becoming. But expression is a phenomena, and that is true. Expression of wife is a phenomena, expression of a mother is a phenomena, expression of a sister is a phenomena. Similarly, mind is a phenomena, duality is a phenomena, wave is a phenomena, gold is a phenomena, ornament is a phenomena. So what is phenomena? That which appears for some time and disappears after some time. That which is only temporarily available. So wife is temporary. 1 second she is there, next second mother comes out. But we take those roles to be more serious rather than the woman. We take the mind too seriously as the reality. Something that needs to be worked out. As long as you take that as the something needs to be worked out, then you will apply that mind to the consciousness, and maximum you can reach is meditation. That's all. Samadhi. But we want to be the pure consciousness without barriers. all the time, 24 by 7, 365, which has got no, beyond all the conditionings. Even those conditionings are expressions of the self alone. I want to get to that, be that. I am that, essentially. What I want to be that. I am that. The conditioning of space, time and objectivity are because I am there. The body, the senses, the mind, the convictions, the objective world, the past, the future, the Jeev Jagat Ishwar, all this is only because the substratum that I am. Take that position. It may click in one go, it may, but as we keep being that, for that nothing special is required to be done. Nothing special. You don't have to do pranayam, you don't have to do yoga, you don't have to do japa. All we have to do is shift our attention. You have to accept that I am that substratum. And from that point you look at everything. And what is this everything? It's expression of that substratum. It's not separate from the substratum. It's an expression of that. Waves are expression of the water. Ornaments are expression of the gold. The Panch Koshas, the Panch Tattvas, the Panch Jnanendriyas, the Panch Karmendriyas, they are all expressions of that consciousness that I am. So if they are, now be very attentive here, if they are expressions, can I get rid of them? If they are expressions, can I get rid of them? I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. Can I do that? It's stupidity. What are we doing here? Mad Atma Sarva Bhutatma. That is what we are doing here. So you cannot get rid of anything. Therefore, realization is in spite of everything, not to the exclusion of everything. When it is to the exclusion of everything, it is samadhi. When it is in spite of everything, then we are abiding. See, these are very subtle points. So here he says, Pahapa niranjani nidela to nirvivad ekala paricheta cheva vita zhala doni tochi. An individual sleeping in a secluded place all alone wakes up himself, thus he himself becomes both the sleeping one and the awakened one. In this OV, Sant Jnaneshwar gives a beautiful, unique example of how duality can exist without breaking or disturbing the non-dual existence. This is what we are saying. Madatma, Sarva Bhutatma. Sarva Bhutatma, the objective universe. Because the waves are expressing, the water has not got destroyed. So because the universe has come about, the phenomenal world has come about, the self, the pure consciousness has not got destroyed, has not gone into hiding. It is abundantly available everywhere. In fact, it is the only thing. Of how duality can exist without breaking or disturbing the non-duality. How wave can express without breaking the waters. How ornament can express without breaking the gold. How mind with it and the duality can express without breaking the consciousness, without breaking the substratum. When the wife expresses, has the woman broken? She's as she is. Without the woman, wife cannot come. If that is true, then how can consciousness be broken when the duality begins, expresses as the phenomena? Now apply to yourself at this very moment, that if I am the consciousness and the phenomena is expressing as this whole world, then how come I feel I am broken, I am the waker, dreamer, sleeper? How come I am breaking myself up? If I am the woman, I don't get, as a woman, I don't get broken up when mother, daughter, sister express, then how can consciousness break when waking experience, dream experience and sleep experience comes? How can consciousness be broken when the various thoughts come? See, you just thinking, you are there right this moment. An individual is sleeping all by himself in a forest. Then he wakes up. Who woke up the sleeping person? The one who was sleeping. And the one who woke up the sleeping person are the same himself. So he alone was sleeping and he alone is awake. So has he become two? Has the wife become mother and daughter? Or she is the one? The woman, has she become the mother and daughter? Or is she one? So is there waker and sleeper? Or is there a one? So who was sleeping? I was sleeping. Who woke up? I woke up. Right? So is the sleeper and the waker separate? No. I alone was sleeping. I alone. So are you different or are you the same? No, I am the same one. Similarly, I am the same behind all the roles that is being played. I am the same behind all the thoughts. I am the same behind all duality. See, the one who was sleeping and the one who woke up the sleeping person are the same himself, though he played both the roles. He was one without a second. Then who is answering that I was sleeping? And who is answering that I am waking? I am awake now. It's the pure consciousness. Because it's the eternal witness, if you want to use that word here. It alone supported the sleeper and the sleeping world, and it alone supported the waker and the waking world, without losing anything out of itself. Because he has expressed as that, the pure consciousness has not become any less. Because the woman is expressing expressing as wife and daughter, woman has not become less. And when those roles come merge back, in the sense when they vanish, she has not become more. Purnamada Purnamidam. So though he played both the roles, he was one without a second. So there is no loss or gain in the waters, whether waves appear or disappear. Similarly, there is no loss or gain in the pure consciousness, whether the phenomena appears or becomes manifest or unmanifests. Take that position at this moment, not in the future, right now. Take that position. And at the microscopic level, even at this moment, The thoughts are coming and thoughts are going away. Again there is presence of thoughts, then there is absence of thoughts. Your eyes are seeing, then they blink, then they see, then they blink. Appearance, disappearance. Expression, non-expression. Thinking, non-thinking. And as that keeps expanding then waking, non-waking, which is called sleep. Then even larger, yugas and absence of and pralaya. Same thing is going on. Where? On the consciousness as the consciousness. When we give too much value and importance and attention to the phenomena, we start, whatever you give attention to too much, you start taking it to be real. So also the awakened one is the guru and the sleeping one is the disciple, but the knowledge of non-duality is available only to the waking one. Have we become awake to ourselves as we are explaining at this moment? Or are we still only in the mind, trying to work it out, trying to remember, trying to understand? Then we are sleeping. And when we are being that principle in spite of the phenomena of understanding and listening, then we are there. The Dvaita of Guru Shishya may be difficult to understand by the disciple, but it is a joy and a sport for the Guru without losing his non-duality in any way. So when a child, you tell the child, I got a chocolate for you, he gets excited. And then I do this many times. Then I take the chocolate and then they come to take it. I give my finger instead of the chocolate. Chocolate is here. I give the finger. Then they open this one, then they catch another finger. But the chocolate is not caught. Then they cry. I am smiling. We are laughing. Not me. Everyone around me. They are enjoying the crying of the child. And then after then enough tears are shed, then you give the chocolate. Hey, that kid is excited. So the crying as well as the joy, it didn't affect us. We know it was all a game only, isn't it? Are we in that position where we see the joys and sorrows coming in the mind? Well, the joys and sorrows will not be there if you take that position, but all the phenomena that is coming about. Without getting affected by it. This is what the Guru Maharaj, he enjoys the struggle of the disciple. He enjoys the misery of the disciple. He enjoys he doesn't make him miserable purposely. Our teacher did make us miserable purposely. But it was only to test, to make us pakka. See? So he knows that it is only a game. It's only a question of time for this disciple. Actually speaking, everything is the same. That's why he is able to teach on and on and on and on and on. Because it's an expression of joy. Whereas the seeker is learning and learning and learning and learning because he is frustrated with the world. He wants to become more. He wants to realize. He wants to change the world. He wants to perfect himself. How long will he keep seeking perfection? Till the moment it doesn't click to him that he is by nature perfect. And that is what is our true disposition, my friends. And with that we conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। हरि ओम।
हरिओम स्वामीजी।
हरि ओम। हरि ओम।
हरिओम स्वामी।